call the meeting of the Boothbay Board of Selectmen to order. First up is Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First, we have a public hearing for Ocean Point Inn and Restaurant, map U3, lot 23, located at 191 Ocean Point Road. Renewal of liquor license Class 1A, malt, spirituous, and Venus, and innkeeper's license. Jim?
So we've received the application. I will give it to you in just a moment. It's met its proper posting requirement, and we've never had any issue from the town perspective on either one of these renewals. So I don't have any comment.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve. Any discussion?
Both the liquor and the innkeepers?
Yeah.
Any public comment? Hearing none. All those in favor? Open
Short
up.
and sweet, Tony.
What's that?
Short and sweet.
Do I take anything or just leave?
We'll have that signed for you and we'll bring it in the office tomorrow morning.
That'd be great.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Certainly.
Next up is public comment.
We haven't put a spot for the BCA, but I know that they'll be here tonight. But I also know that they're waiting for Ralph, so maybe when Ralph shows up from the Seagulls, we can.
Next on the agenda is Barclay Shepherd and Bill Smith from the Woodchucks.
Rocky Shepherd. Yeah, we're here to request permission, or let me just say this, we're here to request that the town of Boothbay make available to us a piece of land, approximately 1 acre, out here beyond the playground, or some suitable area in that, so that we'll have a better place to store our wood. I presume you all know what the woodchucks do. We provide wood to people who have trouble meeting their heating bills, and over the years we've delivered many hundreds of cords of wood to people in this area. Where we are now, down at the Public Works area, is not ideal. It's not totally protected, but more importantly, a real problem that we have is keeping the wood dry when it starts to snow and freezing in, and it's really hard to deliver wood when people need it most if it's all frozen in. So what we'd like to do is have an area where we can store the wood, stack it, and have it covered to protect it from the weather. So that's what we're requesting.
How would you cover it?
Well, we have a large top, and Bill Smith here was really, and Henry are both, prime movers with the woodchucks. And maybe Bill Smith could give you a little more information on that.
Well, the Rebuild It Together people gave us a tarp 3 or 4 years ago. It's 28 by 48, it's a heavy duty tarp. And we had donated some rafters, pipe rafters from one of the woodchuck members, and I was gonna try and get that set up somewhere this year to keep the wood covered. Because we delivered as much as a dozen truckloads of woods last year. And we had, luckily the facilities came next door with their backhoe and loosened it up for us. But I really felt bad giving these people that needed the heat frozen wood.
Problem is,
We had tarps over it, but they leak, they freeze, and it drips down in and freezes more, causes condensation under it.
with where you're talking over here, that's pretty utilized already, the parking area and stuff. Everything that's cleared is being pretty utilized, I would assume, but with the playground and the field and everything.
Let me tell you about how we got to this point of having an idea of using a spot up by the playground. The woodchucks operation has gotten bigger and bigger over time. Originally, it was just a little bit of space over in Public Works. But as they've been successful, placing wood with people that need it, they've gotten more and more wood, and now they need a capacity for storage. Well, it's not ideal to use our operating area for public works, so we said, well, what if we found another spot? So we started brainstorming, and we said, well, we've got a lot of property over in the Clifford Park area, and we have aspirations to clear and make the field bigger. We'd like to make that field much bigger than it is. Well, if you did that in conjunction with clearing a spot for the woodchucks, it starts to make sense. The other factor that we want to keep in mind is ideally, if a nonprofit or a non-organized group is going to operate on our property, there should be some separation of the town versus that group. I mean, our risk management team would come in and they would see that we have people cutting wood on town property. They must be town employees. How are they covered by workers' comp? What are our legal liabilities? So when you start thinking of that in the background too, well, it would be ideal to lease a spot to this group so that you could say, here's our formal contract for this property. This is your area of the world. We're not responsible essentially for what happens in that leased spot. So it kind of frees the town from liability.
But is there, right now, is there room at the current location without a lot of work?
No, not a lot of work, no.
There's fill there, I know, from over the years, but it has never been bulldozed out, has it?
There's a lot, yeah. I mean, this concept is based on a lot of work.
Another concern I would have is anytime you're gonna put anything, wood splitters, wood, anything around a playground where children play, they're going to wander over that way. There's no getting away from that.
Or even the piles of wood themselves.
Right.
We'd like to make it secure with some kind of a perimeter,
Gate link,
maybe
yeah.
some rocks and so forth, and a gate that would prevent, people just walking in and fooling around with it. The other thing is, I just want to, in case you didn't know it, the Boothbay Region Community Resource Council is now has applied for a 501c3 status. We've been approved by the state, and we're waiting for the IRS. And the woodchucks operate under the umbrella of the Boothbay Region Community Resources. So that's something in our favor, I think.
Is that the only, is that the only property that we have available?
I was thinking the old animal hospital property.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. But then we're dealing with overfull.
Depending on what's chosen for a piece of property, we had a discussion like this at Rebuilding Together today. I'm their operations director, volunteer operations director. And just initial discussion, we will do something to help them get that wood under cover. I'm not certain what it's going to be yet. We just had a 2 or 3 minute discussion about it, and we did say that we would look for more details and would look for a way to assist them with getting something under cover through Rebuilding Together.
Jim, was the old animal hospital property looked at for this?
We didn't, Mike and I didn't consider it in our thought processes. But also, I don't want to say we put a lot of thought into this plan by the playground. We were just looking for a place other than the public works lot.
Yeah. Well, I share Stevie's concern that kids are just naturally curious. If you've got equipment down there, if you've got piles of wood down there, I'm not sure that next to the playground is the perfect spot.
It would have to be all chain link fenced and locked up. If it were there, there's no doubt.
The same can be said, and I know the woodchucks are all responsible men, but we're asking, they're going into our industrious public works facility too, right near our fuel, near our plows. I mean,
True,
it's not ideal.
but I mean, all
They're
the
not
woodchucks
kids either.
are old enough and seasoned enough to know what's right and what's wrong, whereas a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old kid, or maybe even younger, the curiosity factor, that's what scares me.
I'm not comparing the two
No, I
situations. I'm
understand.
saying that both of them have liabilities.
Right.
Ones that we should protect ourselves as the town.
I agree. I agree with you when you say, no matter what we do, I think it needs to be a lease, a clear lease, that way we're not held liable.
Yeah.
Even if the lease is for $1, it releases the town's liability at that point.
So-
The hill all that wood was on was just a sheet of ice this winter, and I couldn't even back up to where the wood piles were sometimes. We had to toss them a long ways. even the loader had a hard time getting up there for us, so.
I think that was.
You do know, speaking off the record for a minute, the using of a loader wherever you go besides where you are, you'll have to provide your own.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, if it's dry and undercover, we can load it by hand a lot easier.
Henry?
I do not look at any relocation as a high priority. I look at the 10-quarter wood undercover. We can deliver a lot of wood before the snow comes, but there is that period of January and February that
It's tough.
it does become critical.
It's tough, yeah.
And people call when it gets so, unfortunately, we made a big effort in the last couple of years to get people to sign up ahead of time so we wouldn't be faced with the problem of trying to dig this stuff and dig the wood out when it's frozen. And a few people responded, but the majority of people seem to wait until it's a crisis.
They wait until they run out.
And that's when it's most difficult to take care of it. So covering it is really critical.
We delivered approximately 30 car wood this season, from September till March. That's 84 truckloads.
But again, the majority of that was through Christmas.
Before, yeah.
And then all hell broke loose.
Did that Smith property go to the land trust?
Yes.
Yes.
They might even think about letting them have a little place in there, storing it.
I know.
It's only wood.
Careful.
Well, honestly, I don't have a problem with the playground as long as there's fencing around it, as long as there's some way to secure
Yeah,
it.
I don't think the playground makes a difference in liability if it's properly fenced. Yeah.
Right, it's just that I don't think I'd want to see splitters and everything out there completely accessible to the children, to the kids.
Another thing that's in the back of my mind too is, I mean, thinking back 10, 15 years ago, there was talk about redoing that field and making it like a twin Little League field and stuff. What would that do to them plans by doing something like that? I mean, I don't want to.
You mean phase two?
I would hate to see them, yeah. I mean, I would hate to see them say, okay, you can go there, and then all of a sudden, 2 years down the line, this comes up again and says, oh, sorry, you got to move. You know what I mean? I mean, I know that's not a high
What's the
thing on
latest
the.
on the ice skating rink? Or, I know at one time they were thinking
No idea.
about going into that area.
No,
They
I
haven't-
haven't heard.
I haven't heard a word from the ice
This
rink
will be
committee
the
in a
third
couple of
year that
years.
they haven't.
Now they keep
Pursued
doing
that.
that by the fire station.
Right,
The ice rink is all just up at Fireman's, you know,
Right.
Yes.
the fire station. And they tried to get, that committee tried to get a piece of land, and it just never went. And so I think things are just status quo, and it seems to be a nice crowd up there to go ice skating up at the fire station in the winter time. So I don't think that they're gonna change anything, not in the foreseeable future.
I would think that I would say more thought needs to put into it, because maybe the vet property would make sense, I don't know. I mean, the property that goes in behind the vets, we also own, there's an acre in there. It's wooded, but we got that at the same time as the vets.
Yeah.
There was stipulations, if I remember correctly, put on the deed, that it could only be town owned, but I don't know about used, I don't know
We're talking
how.
about selling it, we're just talking about.
Right.
Listen.
Yeah, we didn't think that was an ideal spot just because we don't want to encourage any more traffic coming in and out of that spot, you know. But, you know, any spot. I mean, I think originally how we stumbled on the Cross River property was discussing that area, is this have a town purpose and what are we doing with it? And I don't think we ever answered that question. So I didn't really want to promise anybody long-term lease if we don't even know what we're doing with it.
It's pretty swampy out there too. It's quite muddy.
Where?
Well, back of the vet's office,
Cross River.
a little bit,
Oh, no, out here?
yeah.
We put
Oh,
no
up
blame
there,
in
there
any of these scenarios because we didn't know the conviction of this
Right.
was like.
I would want to go look at it before I would.
well, to be clear, I think the conviction is we've always wanted to help out the woodchucks. I think what they do is great, but we got to make sure that it fits and make sure that we're not holding the town liable in some instance or another. That's all. Just trying to make sure the town's covered as well.
As far as the comment that Jim made about liability, I think that there is some work that could be done on that right now to get the town less liable.
I think
In other words, we're willing to sign anything to.
But I think anything short of a lease, so that way you're not on town property, is probably the only way around legally. Am I misspeaking? I mean,
Yeah, because essentially what we would say is that lease would be our agreement with them to operate in that area that we own, but we'd probably put in that lease that they identify us against any action that happens in there. So, I mean, if they wanna have a circus in there, they have a circus, that's not our deal.
Right.
It's a circus every time you go.
And that wasn't an inference on how the woodchucks work.
I think we want to table it until next meeting and give a chance to get it there, because I personally would like to go up there and see, look around.
I think we need to look at it at the next meeting.
Yeah,
That one, though.
we're looking at them both.
Both, really.
Yeah, okay.
It gives us a 2-week span that
Yeah.
allows it to kind of sink in and process, so to speak, you know?
What is the inventory of town-owned property aside from the vet's office and
I don't think there's really anything that would fit.
I mean, we've got a pretty decent inventory of property, but, usable property is probably the good question. What is usable? And it's the vet's office, the former vet's location. I guess you could throw the 2 fire department locations in there
What
as
about-
town-owned property that are usable.
You spoke about the fire department. Out back to the left, there's that little area there.
As long as it's okay with Chief Spofford. And once again, the reason why the town is tentative about using public workspace is, we're trying to operate a pretty big operation
Right,
there.
but out there, I mean, you're away from your firehouse, you're on the complete opposite side of your smokehouse, I think is what they call it. I mean, there is, I mean, I'm not saying it's no acre.
I don't know how
But-
far it goes back in.
I don't either.
Trees. But
But that would be worth looking into,
Right,
because
exactly.
that'd be real accessible.
We can look into it.
Mm.
is that,
All you do is have a survey.
under didn't the state order some tarring done for, what's they call it, parking ride?
That's up front, Billy.
Yeah,
That's up front? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we ought to look at all that, I mean, we may find that all of them would work, none of them would work, I don't know, but it would, at least wouldn't hurt to
I
look.
don't think that Connick is used much.
I don't either.
No.
There's a few people that park, the guy that goes around the schools with those test driving.
Yeah, but he parks out back, I'm talking off to the left-hand side out back.
What don't, yeah.
You know what I mean, when you
To the
look at that
south of the
fire
building.
station?
about the southwest side or?
Yeah,
South of the building.
yeah,
Yeah, that's where he parks his 2 pieces of.
there's enough room there, he could park somewhere else.
Yeah,
I don't know, there's a big truck that parks out there too,
There's a tractor trailer that backs
quite
us
often,
there,
but.
Yeah, I think we need to, if we're talking about the fire department.
Yeah, we need to check
refer
with
to
Dickie.
Chief Spofford.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
Check with Dickie to find out if there really is room.
just up in there.
I mean, that would be ideal, it's paved, it's
About
plowed,
that.
you know, I mean,
Well, then there wouldn't be any place to put the snow, because that's the corner they always put the snow in.
Yeah.
I think that all that wood will melt it.
I think that probably the most helpful thing would be if the woodchucks, they know their operation, they know what they need for space. If they tell us what their ideal spot is, or ideal 2 spots, then we can put together a response. that
flat,
says,
clear and dry.
And Jody's willing to help too.
How much area, how much area do you need? And what,
We'd like about an acre, if possible.
We could survive on half an acre, but that's about what we covered last year, I believe.
half an acre's a
We
big.
need a place to store the wood that's split and dry. But we also get a lot of logs donated to us.
Yeah.
People will ask us to take down trees for us to use, and we could leave that in a less secure area. And it doesn't have to be covered, it still needs processing. So we need the area that's covered for protection against the weather, but an area additionally where, you know, sometimes the town will donate logs to us, and if they could have a place to lay them down and so forth, it doesn't have to be covered.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have a hard time carving a half acre out of a fire department.
Yeah,
I think you would too.
I think so too. I mean, honestly, I think you're gonna have a hard time carving an acre down here. That's a big area.
I agree, I wasn't speculating as an area, an acre, I was thinking more the size of the parking lot there.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
And
Top priority should be the protection of that wood for
Mhm.
the winter. Wherever we are. There needs to be some sort of covering and an access to that area.
Them coveralls are pretty cheap and you can access them from either end.
I'd love to see a dome. Not realistic, I know.
I think we should dome the whole town and climate control.
Yeah.
All the roads.
I guess we'll table it till next. Thank you, guys. We haven't pushed her off by no means, but we want to look at them, so.
Understood.
Winter's coming.
Yeah.
Hasn't left.
That's true.
Next up is approve the minutes from the previous meeting of 4/23/2014.
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Next up is reports. Jim?
the first thing that I wanted to cover was, obviously the annual town meeting, where we had some actionable items from town meeting that I just want to know what the selectmen want to do with. First of all is the TIF was approved, so we can send that off to DECD, and the only reason why I want to wait is just to make sure that nothing's changed, make sure the selectmen have opportunity to process the vote before we send it out. The second thing is the land trust conveyance. So the actual question gives the selectmen the authority to convey that property. So now town meeting's giving you that authority. I'm just gonna assume that we just line up the land trust agreement for the next meeting and do the conveyance.
As far as I'm concerned.
I mean, we have to technically sell it to them for $1, correct?
No, this is a.
No.
it's-
No, we buy it
Buy it
back
back
for
for
$1.
Okay, I remember the $1. I couldn't remember where it fell.
It's a repurchase for $1, but no, ours is a gift to them.
They got 5 years, right?
15.
15, buddy.
Yeah, but I thought 5 years they had to do
No, 15.
to build the building and all that
It was
stuff.
15.
We didn't want it,
Jesus, that's that long?
we've had it 20.
That's too long.
We should have thought about that before town meeting.
So I mean, you can look at any of the authority from town meeting allows you to convey it. And if you look at the question, it says substantially the same form as shown on the deed. So I mean, you can make changes. You're allowed to by law.
Well, the agreement that the board minus me entered into included 15 years.
Right.
Yeah.
I would
I
agree.
think that we would not be showing very good faith if we reneged on that.
Yeah, if we decide to change it now.
The only reason I said minus me is I didn't vote on that question.
I think we do it and be done with it. I'm sure they want to get going with the trails, because they said that they'd made the comment they wanted to start trails almost immediately. So.
So I will talk with the executive director of the land trust. We'll try to have something to do for the next meeting and we'll put it on the agenda. I didn't want to put it on the agenda today, just not knowing.
Oh, and to answer your question about the TIF, I think that, we're all in agreement that you should send that off and get it done, correct?
Yeah, we all voted to put it
Right.
forward, so I don't see why we're waiting.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just awkward to go from town meeting to any action, so we just wait, I just wanted to. Article 5 was the non-binding referendum question, which is, essentially gives the selectmen some idea of what the voters want. That was obviously a 3-2 vote, yes, in favor of a referendum. We have plenty of time to think this over, but I thought no better time than fresh in our memory. What do you want to do with that question.
It's actually the second time in the last 5 or 6 years that the voters have voted to go that way.
Yeah.
Oh, well, then the voters voted to go back to town meeting,
Yeah,
so.
but I heard a lot of comments, a lot of people was confused on that article too, which way to go. So,
I don't know, you know, I sat in this chair 4 or 5 years ago arguing to keep town meeting.
yeah, well, I'd rather keep it too.
But then you look at turnout, I mean, this year kind of was an exception. We actually had a pretty good turnout at this year's town meeting versus the last couple. But when you can get 500 or 600 people voting on something during the day and anywhere from 50 to 100 at night, what's the actual snapshot of the public? The 500 or 600. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the same thing that happened 5, 6 years ago. They voted the same way to go all secret ballot, and then just from talking around town, we had so many people like yourself that didn't like it, so we just went back.
It's pretty common in towns to go to referendum. Wisconsin's going to do the same.
It's a non-binding vote anyway,
Right,
so.
right. And we make the decision, in other words.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But Wisconsin this year, against the people's will, are going back to town meeting.
Yeah, I mean, this is usually what happens with these referendum votes, is that then you have some people that historically liked town meetings and they grumble about it, and then you bring it back and it flounders a few times. You did have 300 people say they wanted to do this, so, you know, I would say that's got some traction in it. You know, if it were me, if I was the selectman, I would probably give it a shot for a year and go through a whole referendum vote, see how it works. Maybe even 2 years.
I mean,
We've tried it. before.
one thing you could do too is go to referendum vote, and at the very end of that ballot, do you like how you know what I mean? I don't know how the lawyer would twist it somehow, but.
I think that's how it was done the last.
That's what we did last time. We had one secret ballot with a question on the ballot. Do you want it this way, or do you want to go back to town meeting?
Right, and people voted to go back to town meeting, but
Yep.
I'd maybe do the same thing again. I mean, at least then it's the people's choice, it's not ours at that point, you know what I mean? The people, obviously 300 people spoke, so.
No, 500 plus people voted.
Right,
Spoke.
right, 300 300 people voted in favor
And
of.
I was right there with you the last time we discussed this, Steve. But it's nice to have the old-fashioned town meeting up to the town hall, but it's nice too to hear from 500 plus people how they think
I agree.
we're doing.
I mean, we've kind of set precedent with that, with these no more special town meetings unless it's in November or May, because I mean, we've recognized that you get low voter turnout, and when we have a special town meeting, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it's the age, people are busy.
I'm a firm believer in going with what the voters want. The voters said we need a referendum. I think we should stick with referendum, but that's just me.
I agree.
No, I'm right there with you, Dale.
We put it on the ballot for a reason.
Yep.
The people have spoken. Although 200 people spoke out against it, the majority spoke for it.
The law is pretty clear. It's that the authority rests with the selectmen, so this is not a binding vote. But you'll get, I just want to throw it out there before we get to an actual warrant. We have to bring it up and get into the debate on it. Let's just think about it now. What does that vote mean? The last thing that I just wanted to report on, Article 36, which is the Kickstart Stables, they're not ready to actually do the lease. So we have the authority, but we're going to wait until they come to us and say we're ready to execute this lease.
One question I had about that, would it be expensive for them to take out a bond? Just, you know what I mean? Insurance is one thing, but a bond is definite, you know what I mean?
It probably would be expensive, but I mean, there's more one way to skin a cat. I mean, you could have them put some kind of retainer in escrow, you know, during the life of the lease.
That would for sure protect us.
Yeah.
You know, insurance, you know how, I mean, you could fight with insurances for years, whereas a bond is a bond. It's there. I mean, I'm just, if that's at all possible, that would make the best protection for the town, I believe. 'Cause, I mean, if you ruin that, you do anything to that landfill, and it's not gonna be pennies.
Right. Yeah, much like somebody mentioned about notifying abutters and all, everything still has to abide by the law, the zoning ordinance. So, I mean, there's more to it than just the lease. They would have to get zoning board, planning board approval. They'd have to notify abutters. You guys would probably want to see some kind of schematic on how they plan on using the property. So this is just town meeting approval says, okay, you can do it, but there's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts.
Ideally, I see it in the long run, I think it would look better,
Oh, sure.
you know, than what we currently have. And we got that old dilapidated chain link fence and trees growing up, and, I mean, it's mowed a couple of times a year. The horses will make sure it's mowed twice a year, so.
Jim, was that one of the pieces of property that moved from residential to C3?
I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I believe the line goes right through there.
That's more than an acre.
Yeah,
Where's your?
Yeah, but you can't go up on there.
Can't go up on it.
I don't think you can build structure and stuff.
No, you can't.
Yeah,
No, because if you could, a wind farm would be the perfect thing up on that.
right. Other than that, I just wanted to say congratulations to the 2 board members that were reelected. Congratulations. Anything else on town meeting before I move on? Okay. I gave you the vote turnout in your packets.
Hey, can we, if you're done with, can we go to them guys so they can get out of here and then we'll return?
Certainly.
We won't keep you that way.
Yeah.
So we have 2 people here from Pacific Association to talk about our 250th anniversary.
Pass them out there.
Yeah, we have
You
them.
got the,
Yep.
anyway, on Friday night, we're gonna have that seafood festival. And we would like to know if we could get permission to have beer and wine, and the BCA backs it. And we have brought Ralph, who's gonna be, he's the caterer.
Yeah, with the questions to the food and the beer and wine, I can answer questions for you. It would be, should I just elaborate?
Absolutely.
Planning on a large tent, seats 250 people, buffet, outside buffets, cooking areas, a roped off area for the consumption of alcohol. One way in, one way out, security people at the door, limited sales of alcoholic beverages by ticket. 2 numbers of people, like a person couldn't have 3, 5, 8, 10, 20. You know what I mean? It's gonna be monitored, it's gonna be policed. There would be local police involvement. Basically a contained, you know, I think if you have a festival, it's nice to be able to have a beverage, an adult beverage. That's my point, I hope you guys agree on that. But, you know, I run bars and restaurants, and that's what I do for a living.
Right.
I have $1 million liquor liability policy that comes along with my catering license. So there is a insurance backer there with my license, with me doing it. To have permission to use my catering license, all I would need would be a letter from the board stating that it is all right for me to bring alcoholic beverages into your community and sell them here within a confined area, which I would produce by the next time we meet, a drawing, the tent, a roped off area, number of police, number of tables, designs, so you know exactly what to expect. You know, I guess that's where I'm at from there.
Sounds to me like Ralph's got all the T's
I
crossed.
agree. I think we do it and be done with it.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you also, when we have the Special Olympics, you know, up at Railway Museum, they never have any problems with that either. And they serve the hard stuff, you know, so, and they have it all in a contained area.
Well, we had talked that we wondered about how it would, but you got it all covered. You got it in a tent, roped off. That's my only concern.
It's the only legal way to do it.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Stop people from walking out under 27 with a beer in their hands.
Exactly, yeah, it's a confined area only.
Use this as a trial run as well.
Right.
These guys.
So that was sort of the point to try to add this for future. You know, it's a great area. I mean, my point is the towns around us are pushing forward. We can't stand still.
Right.
We got a beautiful harbor.
I agree.
Everybody's trying to steal our candy.
Yeah. And we've got a beautiful common.
Oh, yes.
Common that should be used more than it is.
I agree. It's beautiful.
And the BCA is right behind it also.
Plus, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
And we have made progress.
You wanna make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we allow the sale of beer and wine at the function that the BCA is gonna be having to celebrate the Boothbay Sesquicentennial.
It'll be
Yeah.
Friday and Saturday.
No,
Right.
that Ralph will be using his catering license for. This is a trial run for the future.
Second.
Any discussion?
To clarify, a one-time exception to policy in this one instance.
No, technically, is it under your name or your business name?
It's under business name, Going Skiing Inc., DBA Big Seagulls Restaurant.
Did you get that, Sherry? Can you repeat it?
Going Skiing Inc., DBA McSeagle's Restaurant.
Just when we draw the letter, it'll have to name that, that's all.
Yeah, that's the liquor licenses, that's what it is. Okay.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Oh, thank you so much.
I think it sounds like a blast.
Yeah.
It really does.
It's shaping up. I've made a little progress, and I think today I made maybe more.
Good.
Well, that's a nice write-up in Discover Maine too, Don.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah,
That's a nice write-up.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's gonna be good.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's a positive thing for town.
Oh, absolutely.
We need it now, after this long winter
I agree.
and long spring.
Sure.
Okay, right? Thanks,
Thank you.
yeah.
All right, good night.
Okay, Jim.
All right, continuing on, maybe I'm gonna skip around a little bit actually, because I see Mr. Brewer's here. And one of the things that I was gonna bring up in my reports is that we've had a lot of complaints at the town about the Time Warner cable rates, and how does that work with the town of Boothbay. I think a lot of people are confused that the franchise agreement means that we have some kind of regulatory capability over Time Warner cable. And essentially, the agreement says that we have an opportunity to make complaints. It's a really old agreement, so the complaints department doesn't exist the same way it says in the agreement. I contacted Shelley Winchenbach, who is our department contact for Time Warner Cable, and she gave me a toll-free number, which we'll put on our website for people to be able to contact. But honestly, the town doesn't have any ability to make rates change. Matter of fact, if we didn't have our franchise agreement, I'm not sure if rates would come down, even though they do tack that on to the rates. I don't know if you wanted to cover anything.
But doesn't it say right on, I had a gentleman approach me 10 days ago that said it says right on the bill that if you have questions or complaints about the bill to contact the town.
Yeah, and the town can't do anything.
Well, but at the very minimum, they should take that off their bill.
Yeah, I mean, so we're gonna make sure that 1-800 number is readily available, because that's what we do. We call the 1-800 number.
But couldn't we demand them to take that statement off from their bill?
We could. Once again, I don't think we have any regulatory control over that.
A couple of months ago, we were sitting at this table and discussing the fact that they were driving rates up through the roof and the fact that they were looking at a merger, and Jim was going to contact them and have them come in and sit at the table because the current agreement that we have is expired, even though it says that it goes on forever, even if it's expired. And we wanted them to come in and sit at the table and have a little discussion with us.
Yeah,
Here's another reason to have them come in and sit at the table.
And like that email that I sent out, Jesus, seems a long time ago, Shelley Winchenbach is our point of contact. She is willing to meet with us in June. That was the earliest she could meet. I think it ends up being the second meeting in June. I told her that we're interested, so as it gets closer, we'll firm that up.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, what town is it? Was it Newcastle that just got a new franchise agreement with them?
Newcastle, and essentially what everybody's doing with these franchise agreements is they're just they're renewing the agreement. Not much of the framework of the agreement's changing. The franchise agreement's staying about the same. Sometimes they're throwing on a few grants that are paid for by user fees, but not much is changing. Maybe density requirements, But essentially, density requirements right now, Boothbay is dense enough that generally they have to provide what their 25% share of the cost of cable just about anywhere in town. We're that dense that it doesn't really matter anymore.
What they need to do is deregulate the cable companies, just like they did
Absolutely.
with Ma Bell and the electric companies.
That's right. Right now,
Then
it's
we
not,
want rates drop.
right, it's not like we can go out and just say, we'll get somebody else.
Right.
There's no competition here.
Right.
And Jim explained everything to me very nice. I tried to talk to Time Warner. They don't want to hear what the ratepayer has got to say. Yesterday, I was up in Fairfield Center, 20 miles north of Augusta. Their rate up there is $78 a month for the same TV channels that I'm paying $98 a month for. They're no different than Urban Oil. Urban Oil is $368 down here. Fairfield Center, they're $361. Whatever the traffic will bear.
Right.
And with all the publicity that we get with all these millionaires, they think we all got money.
You're right.
And they told me when I left in October, I could pay $11 a month to put my TV on vacation. Now they flip a switch, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Or I could pay $70 to have a serviceman come out and hook me up when I shut it off. I mean, they've got us right,
Yes, they
and they're
do.
twisted.
You're right.
There's something's got to, come somewhere, even though they pay you a little stipend, which they're bribing you to sign a contract with them, and I don't imagine that stipend is very much.
3%.
3% of all that they take in here.
For cable. It's not 3% on our phones or.
I don't have my phone with them, I don't have my internet with them, I only have my TV.
If you look.
And they'll give you 2 through 10 for $14 a month. And then to have anything else, they don't have anything in between.
No, I know it.
It's $98 for 100 and some channels. I ain't got time to watch 100 and some channels.
Well, I'll tell you what, I called them up and complained that they paid too much. And what could they do for me?
Nothing.
By the time I got done talking to the guy on the phone, he offered me a package that was gonna cost me more.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, how's that saving me any money?
Yeah.
Because you're getting so much for that little bit more.
Yeah.
That's what they.
But like Chuck said, I mean, as long as it's regulated by the state,
But
we,
could-
Feds.
you
The
can,
only
by the feds,
way,
okay,
the
there's
only way
nothing.
you're gonna cure it, you gotta get the government to do
Right.
something. You gotta get your senators and stuff to do, because they're supposed to be studying it now with, they're looking in between Comcast and Time Warner merging, they're not too happy about it.
Well, the government's the only one's gonna stop that.
I know, so I mean.
That or SEC, the Security Exchange Commission.
And do you really think with the money flowing around that they'll stop it?
No, they're not gonna stop
There'll be
it.
many vacations and stuff paid for to get that.
And then
done.
your prices are just gonna go up and up and up and.
I tried to get mine lowered and I couldn't.
You know how you can stop it? You can throw away your TV.
Yeah, I know.
No, take the cable out. I've got an antenna, rotary antenna. I took it down 2 years ago because I was worried about ice and snow and the wind taking it down on my roof. I said, I'll just take it down, but I put it up back.
But you,
And I can put it right back up again.
but you should pay attention because in June, we do have that rep coming to meet with us.
Yep.
And you might want to just be here to hear what they have to say.
Dollars to Donuts tells me that she
What do you
cancels.
think she's
the
gonna be able
Oh,
to tell you?
I'm sure nothing.
Huh?
She's way low on the food chain, I'm sure.
She's a rep with them, she gets paid by them, and she's gonna say what she wants to say.
Yeah.
Tell what she's told to
Right.
say. Just like the hospital deal.
Yeah.
The number for complaints to Time Warner Cable is 1-800-833-2253. So anybody that wants that number. And we'll put it up on our website so everybody has that account.
Unfortunately, Bo, we agree with you, but there's
No,
just
I
nothing
just
we can
wanted
do
you
about
to know the difference between 70 miles, 60 miles, I think, to Fairfield Center, and here is $20. Why are they charging them 78 up there, which ours used to be 78 here? I used to pay 78 last year. And now they've gone to 98, 99 something plus tax, so it knocks the hell out of a $100 bill.
Ridiculous.
I knew Mr. Brewer was probably waiting for this conversation, so I moved it up to the front.
Thank you.
No, he was that passionate on the phone the other day too.
See you all, thanks.
Next on the reports, I've actually got a pretty good professional development opportunity to go to the Harvard Kennedy School for 3 weeks. I got a huge scholarship, $10,000 to go for a $12,000 class. I kind of want to wheel and deal with the selectmen a little bit because I would normally go to the ICMA conference, which costs us near $2,500 to go to that conference per my contract. I would like to offer to the selectmen if you would cover the rest of my class that I would skip the ICMA conference this year. The alternative is that I would take vacation to go to this class and pay for it out of my own pocket. So either way, I plan on attending. But I wanted to bring that up to the selectmen.
I'm all for it,
Yeah, I'm for it too.
absolutely. If you're willing to skip the conference and get the last little bit you need to get your scholarship or complete your tuition, it's fine with me.
I did read that over plenty, so.
Yes, no?
I did take the liberty of putting it in the warrant, and I figured if you guys decided not to, I would just do a payroll deduction and pay for it. So it's, but I'm getting a general consensus.
Any adjustment to the contract needs to be in writing.
So this wouldn't be an adjustment to the contract. This is-
Sure it would. If you're giving back to the town any of the monies that you would get by going to the conference and going to use it instead for the Harvard Kennedy School, that's a change in the contract. If we're going to change the contract, I'd like it in writing.
Although in the contract, it doesn't specify the ICMA conference, I don't believe.
It does specify. Yeah.
Does it? It does.
That's all it is.
So just a simple letter between you and us.
Yeah.
I mean, that way there's just a paper trail, that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would be a change, well, I'm not saying it's a change of contract, I don't even know if I would say that, but just an agreement between you and us, really. I mean, I wouldn't say, I don't know if I would say that it's a change of contract, but just a written agreement,
To let him attend.
just for this 1 year, you know what I mean? Just a letter of intent, right, like what Douglas said.
It's a change in the contract. The reason for that is he has specific benefits in that contract that are spelled out and signed, agreed to by him and the town, which we all signed. Changing those in any way is a change in the contract. There needs to be an addendum to the contract stating that there's a change for this.
And it would be just a one-time addendum. Because next year, this wouldn't apply again.
Right.
Well, and your contract's renewed yearly anyway, so.
Yeah, I mean, I would read the language of the contract. I don't think it is a change in the contract. It provides for professional.
But if we just have an agreement between you and us, on paper, basically just saying what you just said, you know what I mean, that will cover it, and just attach it to it.
Yeah, right.
As long as it's signed by us and by him, you know what I mean, is that...
As long as this costs us no more than what it would
Right.
cost us for the
And it
other.
won't.
I'm also perfectly fine with paying my own way.
It should be less, right?
I mean, that's fine with me. I thought this was a good compromise.
Oh, no, I agree. I mean, I think we're not, none of us, I don't think, are saying that it isn't. Just a simple, I mean, I almost think that the minutes would be enough.
And that's kind of where I thought, is that this is on record. I mean, this is a,
Right, there's nothing, it wasn't done in executive session, I mean, it's public meeting.
it's not a change in
True.
the.
I mean, it's gonna be, if we just make a motion, put it in the minutes, and...
I think this is a good opportunity for Jim, I just think it's a change in the contract.
So you wanna make a motion
I
to...
can't see where it's a change in contract. Yeah. Just make a motion and let him go.
And take the money that we normally pay for ICMA and put it towards the Harvard, what's it called?
Harvard Kennedy School is executive training for staying local.
Is that a so moved?
So,
He made the
yeah,
motion.
I'm in motion.
All right, I'll second it.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
Like I said, I think it's a good opportunity for you, Jim. I just don't agree with how we're doing it.
Yeah, I guess I would say congratulations, because, I mean,
Yeah.
most people, they don't just hand that out, so.
Definitely not.
To write 3 essays on why I was deserving of the Brooks Fellowship in order to get that $10,000. It was recommended by the Augusta city manager, who's kind of been a mentor to me for the last couple of years. So, you know, I've already thanked him for pointing out. And he attended, and he was a mom and wrote me a letter of support, so.
Excellent.
Continuing on, the FY 2015 appointments. In front of you, you should have a revised appointment review. I personally went back through all of the appointments and put together this list for you, which is current. The only suggestion that I would make is that some of the balance of some of these appointments has gotten a little off kilter off the years. You don't have equal numbers of, you know, 15 expirations and 16 expirations. So as we make appointments, maybe we should clean up those staggered terms. I mean, it still meets the letter of the local law, but you should have, you know, as many terms expire in every single year, you know, like 2 every single year.
And how did we ever get to Board of Appeals has only 1 in 14, and then 3 and 3? I don't know how that ever happened.
What I think probably happens is over time, I mean, obviously the records for whose expiration was a little bit jumbled, so that probably just transpired into appointments. But when people sign their appointment, that's a legal document, so we wait for it to expire, and then maybe when you appoint them the next time around, you say instead of 3, we appoint you to 2, so that you have 2 expiring in this year, and 2 expiring in this year, and 2 expiring in the third year. But for the purposes of expiring appointments, all of the yellow people are in front of you. So this is up to date. Usually we bring this before the selectmen so that you know who's expiring and give guidance to me on how you want to execute
Do we have to vote on that tonight? Or?
these.
No,
End
of June.
End of June. I think we've done it at the beginning of July before too, just because we ran out of time.
Okay.
So any guidance on how you want to execute reappointments, I usually would reach out to people to see if they're willing to re-up.
Sure. I'll tell you what. That one on the Board of Appeals, I ain't no way I'm gonna put him back on.
Yeah,
Would it be,
man.
would it be, I don't know. I mean, I don't think you could, I don't think it would be appropriate to talk to the chairman of each board or something to see if they're, you know what I mean? Is that appropriate?
We used to.
I think
Really?
we should. Huh? We should?
We used to, Chuck?
We used to.
Then why don't,
When we had the appointment process came up.
then I think that's the first thing we gotta do. Because their input is the most valuable of all. I mean, they're the ones that deal with these people daily. And then if it was the chairman, then you would go to the vice chairman. Right?
Who is the chairman?
And I think we do the same thing
We
with,
already had him in there. haven't we?
I think we do the same thing with Alan Bellows. He's the chairman now, correct?
Yep.
You
And-
do the chairs.
Yeah. I think it makes, doesn't that make, I mean,
Usually check on attendance, and if there are any concerns, then you can talk to that person about those concerns.
Right, okay.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
I didn't know if that would be appropriate, but I'm glad you said that, because that makes,
Now, if we're gonna talk to these people, is that an executive session? Because you're actually, but they're an appointment, so are they personnel?
They are. The appointments would be considered personnel. But I mean, if you're talking about performance, that's when you get into touchy situation. If you're talking about somebody's performance, you need to have them in the room. So you can talk in general, but then at a certain point, you have to.
That's why I'm asking the question.
And if you talk with them, they have the opportunity of saying they do or do not want it in executive session.
Right.
so we'll start with the chairmans and go from there.
Okay.
That
Can
could
you
be
get us a copy of the appointments policy as well?
a good idea. Is that an administrative vote?
There's some in the administrative code, but there's also a standalone document.
We distributed it a couple months ago. It's that 2002 standing boards and committees, and I think it even has, all appointees. I can't remember the title of it, but I think you're pretty close to it. I'll make sure you get it. Any further discussion on the comments? I know these are kind of laborious, so it shouldn't be that much. Another thing under reports, Mid-Coast Economic Development District has just announced that they have worked out a deal with the Greater Portland Council of Governments to jump onto their cooperative purchasing agreement, which I don't want to take this lightly. I want to tell you how big of a deal that is. Essentially, we get the same purchasing power as the city of Portland from this agreement. We've already looked at paper. Essentially, we go through about 15 boxes of paper a year, and we're going to be able to cut that cost at almost in half. That's pretty good considering we shop our paper and we already had a pretty good price.
Right.
We're looking right now at salt, and we have a great price for salt. I think I've been saying that for years. We jumped on and piggybacked on the state of Maine a couple of years ago. We've been able to enjoy that. But they killed the state of Maine price, at least last year. So we're going to look at this further, but the things that they do go anywhere from paper to cutting blades to salt to everything. I mean, there's lots of things, and some things won't make any sense for us to participate, other things will. As we look at it, this is a huge opportunity. I know there was discussions on the merits of McKed and the merits of Lincoln County Regional Planning Commission, but this is a big deal. We're going to save a lot of money. Website update, we had our third drafting meeting with Virtual Town and Schools today. The website looks actually really beautiful. The drafting meeting didn't take very long at all. Tomorrow, myself, Heidi, and Lori will go through training on how to use the website, and then we will train everybody else. We're expecting a launch on May 30th, but that's the date we set. We honestly could probably launch sooner. We'll probably do a soft launch like on a Friday when nobody really cares about the website because we turn into the weekend, just in case we have glitches or anything like that. But it looks really good. All the parts that we thought were going to be helpful and interactive to the residents are really working out as good as we could have ever thought. I'll make sure that our second meeting I'll have that ready for you guys to see. Maybe we'll even launch it, sooner rather than later. So.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm bouncing around a little bit. The Shellfish Committee, we met with Mr. Gilbert last meeting, and then on election day, I met with Russell Pinkham, who's the chairman of the Shellfish Committee, and we talked quite a bit, and he's like, do you want me to show up for the meeting? And he didn't really have a lot of time to be here, and I said, I don't think it's a big priority. I will report back to the selectmen our discussion. Essentially, he agrees with the selectmen's position that maybe they didn't have the authority for these grandfathered licenses. They think it's something they want to do, and they've been talking to Department of Marine Resources. So what they're going to do is they're going to have a meeting of the Shellfish Committee, elect their officers, because they've also found that there are other things they're not probably doing to ordinance. They just it got a little old and they fell off track a little bit, and I think that's probably understood and acceptable. So they're going to have a meeting, elect officers, they're going to make sure that they're filling all the billets according to the ordinance, and then they're going to propose some changes, and they'll be in touch with you shortly. Also report back to you like they're supposed to do annually.
Problem, whenever you have a small committee, which they are, and they're deciding who gets licenses and who doesn't, you take out it can very easily be influenced by, if you're my friend, I'll give, and I'm not saying that they're doing that, I'm not saying that at all, but it can be easily construed that way, whereas keeping it the way it is supposed to work now, that the town clerk is the one that does them, she's completely impartial to it. I see a big headache for them if they try to do that.
And if they propose that change, they'll bring it to you guys, and then you guys get to decide if it goes on town meeting warrant. So there's a lot of process left to that. But also I had a lot of sympathy when I was talking to Russell. Finding people to show up for these meetings, finding people to do all of these jobs. It's incredibly hard. I mean, look how many people are attending our selectmen's
But
meeting,
what-
and you are the most important political body in town.
But what happens to the licenses if they gave out any this year that are technically illegal?
They are rescinding those, and I think they're actually talking to those license holders. So I think they're gonna go back and try to repair any motions that they've had. At least that's the way I understood it.
My only concern about the whole process, and I'm glad that you got a chance to talk to Mr. Gilbert, I'm glad you got a chance to talk to Mr. Pinkham, but at our last meeting, we had asked for them to come in and talk to us.
Who else is it besides Russell?
I don't have my notes, I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, I always just communicate with Russell because he's usually securing the meeting space. You know, I could have Russell come in, he asked me what I thought, and I said, you know, I knew he was stretched for time, and I said, I can probably field these.
I personally wouldn't mind having him face to face, only to give him them concerns that I said, you know, I mean, and they could mean no ill intentions whatsoever, but when you have a small group, and they're a pretty tight knit group.
No offense, Jim, but at the last meeting, you'd explained that you'd talked to Mr. Gilbert and told Mr. Gilbert he should come to the selectmen. And that's why we had said, we'd like the Clamfish Committee to come in, have a little chat with us. And then you took care of it, you got us some information and all that, but if we're gonna deal with a situation, we need to deal with the situation. But thank you for getting us the information.
What?
Well, you look like you was gonna say something, but I guess not.
I'm just over here in contemplation. I mean, I think Russell needs to come in here, and my only thought was the same as you, is I don't know how anybody, I don't understand the Shellfish Committee, I don't claim to understand the Shellfish Committee, that's not my forte, but I don't know how anybody can willy-nilly say, well, we'll grandfather this one and not that one, and good God, what a nightmare that would be, why do you get a grandfather license and I don't?
And no matter what, there's the appearance
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
of you being my friend, so I did this for you, whereas if the town clerk's doing it, all that's gone out the window.
And I'm sure they run into the same types of situations that we run into every day. But we just need to make sure we're all on the same
Right,
page.
there might be a philosophy in here that I'm missing.
Mm-hmm.
I keep trying to convince myself there may be something there that I'm not seeing, but I'm not sure what that would be. So, it wouldn't be bad to have Russell come in and explain that to me.
Department head reports.
Yeah, kind of lost my place. Yeah, department reports, I actually don't have a tremendous amount to go over with departments. Public Works is trying to get about 2 months worth of spring stuff done in 1 month. And
I feel the
really,
pain.
you're hearing the complaints about this isn't swept, this isn't painted, this isn't, you're hearing them, we're getting to them, I promise. There was snow on the ground a few weeks ago, and we're doing the best we can.
And now you're worried about mowing.
Yeah, yeah, I mean,
Makes no
literally
sense.
mowed this week.
I know.
Yep, and we hear the complaints, and they're credible. I mean, I mowed my lawn and swept my driveway, and
All at the same time.
yeah. So I understand. You know, people are starting to show back up to town, and we're trying to get it dressed up for spring. We'll do the best we can. There's going to be a primary coming up in June. I don't have the date off the top of my head, but that's what the business office is addressing. They just sent out 30-day tax notices. We'll be processing those tax liens here in about a month. And assessing is actually wrapped up. Usually this is their hectic time of year, and they're ready for commitment. So that's all I really have for department reports. Actually, sorry, stuck it underneath the pile. We did receive our Lincoln County tax commitment today, literally today, in the mail. And that is up, it's about $45,000, about 1.141 million this year. So, I mean, an increase of about $45,000. You still have pride of being the highest taxpayer.
So what is that as far as percentage for an increase?
Percentage? I don't know. I literally got.
What'd you say, what our 1.1?
1.1.
And it's up 45,000, is that 4.5? That's 44.5%, 4%.
45,445 is what it's
Oh,
on.
between 4 and 4.5%. That's quite a,
I mean, some of that is a budget increase, some of that is fluctuating valuations. You know, a lot of different factors. But, you know, we predicted it a while ago, and I just want to make sure.
the good thing is we just sheltered roughly 25 million from that.
Yeah.
They can't touch that.
And, you know, I mean, when Bristol jumps up in front of us as far as value, we'll be able to thank that for that process.
When that happens, can we send them a congratulations letter?
I'd even send them a bouquet of flowers. It's worth the money.
You weren't at Bristol this year?
Technically, we should send them some lobster.
No. Southport? Oh, South Bristol, yeah.
Is this a Boothbay Selectmen's meeting or Southport?
That's all I have for you.
Well, Chuck mentioned them, and I'm just saying, we're reaching up there close to you guys. Unfortunately.
Couldn't resist busting on you, sorry, Sherry. So we'll move on to old business, personnel policy update, which we have.
Yep, copy of the personnel policy draft should be in your packets. We've notified employees 30 days in advance, so if any of the proposed changes wanted to be adopted, you are free and clear to adopt them.
Have we heard any complaints, comments from the staff?
No, I mean, besides people spending a couple extra minutes to see what the management is trying to slip by them, no. I don't think anybody has any issues with it.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the new personnel policy.
Second.
Any discussion? None? All those in favor? Done.
Awesome.
And the infamous tax sale.
So we've received no tax sale bids, and that's good news because we've received property taxes on all outstanding property accounts. So I did prepare in your packets the release deeds on all the remaining properties that are gonna go to tax sale.
So the property on 229 Back Narrows Road has been cleaned up.
Went out and personally inspected it. Myself and the code officer went out Friday and personally inspected it. We see no code violations. I mean, we did advise them, do this, but they're not technically legal issues. They're more neighborly issues.
I'm glad to hear everyone paid.
Yeah, me too.
For advice in the future, I think next year when we go through this, we should set a different cutoff time for when people need to pay these taxes and when bids are received. Because, I mean, bidders got a little confused that, should I bid on this?
Yeah,
They're
got
gonna bid
dragged
off
out.
it. I don't wanna put my 10% up if I'm, if it's not worth my time. So, food for thought in the future. Hopefully, everybody pays their taxes this year, we don't have this issue.
Well, if the folks that have been foreclosed on have right up until the last minute to pay their taxes, you can't really give them two separate dates.
The folks that we've legally foreclosed on those properties, we own those properties by our administrative code, we have to give them 45 days to reclaim it. At that point in time, we have no legal need to offer the property, but we did say verbally a few times, especially with 229 Back Narrows, that we'd wait till the very last minute. So we did wait till the very last minute.
I think the process that we're using right now, outside of the occasional hiccup, isn't broke, so we don't need to fix it. I think this is fine. I mean, even the problem property came in line.
I'm a firm believer you give them as long as you can to the last gun's fired, I know, but hopefully we don't have to worry about this again anyways.
Right.
That's all.
I mean, my own mind's telling me logically though, why don't we just wait until they don't pay and then put them up for bid?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? We still give them until the last gun is fired, but once that gun is fired, then you advertise out for bid, because then they're ours. There's no turning back at that point in time. Instead of letting the bid opening and the and them paying up till that bid opening be the same exact moment.
Yeah, it wasn't, it was just, it sounded like it was the intent of the selectmen to allow them to repurchase their property up until the bid acceptance date. There's no law that says that we have to allow that. I mean, we legally own the property at the time that we put the ad out. I mean, so we don't have to do that.
Well, I think that was the intent when that was put in the admin code a number of years ago, is to let the people have the opportunity to repurchase right up until you open the bids.
Although if you do it, I'm not opposed, though, to, in the future, if you had a property and you said, okay, it needs to be, the drop dead date that we're going to sell it is, say, May 14th. And if they're not paid by May 14th, then the bid opening will be May 21st. You know, you have that week for people to put bids in. I wouldn't be opposed to that, because I can understand, I do understand the thought process of not wanting to tie your money up. I do understand, I mean, that makes perfect sense, but, I mean, I still, because you're still having your drop dead date. You got until this date, just like in the past, you got until this date, and if it isn't paid, then it's sold. There's no difference. The only difference is we open the bids a week later. You're still setting that drop dead date. If they're not paid by this date, they're going to be.
That's what's going through my mind, is that you have that, there's a kill date. This is, you're gonna be fine until here. Beyond that, we're gonna put up a bid.
You push the envelope just as long as you can for that date, you know, to give them as much time as they can to pay them, because the last thing I want to do is take someone's property. I mean, I don't think there's anybody here that would do that.
Something for us to think about for the future.
Right.
Right now, we don't have to worry about it.
Amen.
And then the softer side of me comes out and says, you know what, I'm less worried about the guy that's gonna tie up his 10% for a week or so than I am
Right.
about the guy that's gonna lose his
But
property.
it's nothing, but you know what, and if you do that, and you say we're gonna set a week in advance, and the reality of it is, I don't think there's a one of us sitting here that the night of them bid openings, if that someone was sitting in that audience and said, I've got the money to pay my taxes, can I keep my property? There's nothing one of us here that probably wouldn't
That's
say
why
yes.
we do it the way we
And I
do
think-
it.
and I was
Because
gonna
without the
say-
threat of opening the bids right then, there's no threat.
We might
Bet
feel
another
that
week or
way,
two.
but I do know of a piece of property where the guy came in to pay his taxes, and that's what led to what's written in the admin code right now. And the Board of Selectmen at that time looked at him and said, no. So, we may all agree how we'd like to do it, but that
Right.
doesn't mean future boards will.
Well, I think Steve Ham hit around, I think that's why we do it the way we do it.
That's why we do it. If there's an extra week, they're gonna take that extra week and we're not gonna turn them down.
Right.
If the day we
Well,
open the bids, they come in and say,
some boards might not
here's
turn
the,
them down,
here's,
some might.
here's the money, we'd still give them their property back. So setting the deadline, other than opening the bids, is kind of foolish.
Well, it's a topic we don't have to worry about for at least a year.
That's right.
Yeah, I wanted you guys to understand that we
Yeah.
have a lot of, like,
Takes 18 months.
you call on Friday, what's the status? You know, so it is a little bit cumbersome, but
Mhm.
it's up to you guys. So then in front of you are quitclaim deeds, and I'm gonna reference the book and page that the
Yeah.
meeting is recorded on, just allowing some anonymity to really fit in the paper. So one property referring back to the Lincoln County Registry of Deeds in book 4535, page 218. Another property referring to book 4535, page 252. And then the last one, 4535, page 233.
Make a motion to sign the quitclaim deeds for the 3 properties that Jim just mentioned and referenced by book and page.
So, seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Just want to say congratulations to you guys because we have no repurchase agreements pending. We have collected 100% of taxes that have been committed to me since I've been here. So,
Wow.
congratulations.
I guess that's congratulations to you, because you're the tax collector.
Well, I do it because you put pretty good policies that allow me to get the job done.
That's it, you don't have anything else for old business? New business is the annual selection of the chairman and vice chairman. It's that time.
As per your direction last year, I put it at the end of the meeting. So,
Makes sense. What's your pleasure? I don't know why everybody speak up at once.
If there's no opposition, I make a motion, we leave it status quo.
I would second that motion.
No, we're supposed to rotate.
I don't care.
Should be rotating, you should be rotating. You're next.
I said if nobody opposes. If you oppose, that's perfectly fine. But I did hear a second.
I second it.
Discussion.
I think we just had some.
Yeah, we just had it.
I don't know. I mean, I am a firm believer that it should be rotated too. I can't deny that. Is it a 1 year, 2 year? I don't know that answer. You know what I mean? I can tell you one thing. I have the utmost, much more respect for Chuck than I had a year ago.
You mean the job?
The job. Well, but no, but Chuck, right, the job, but Chuck did it
The
for.
job, Chuck was
But how
doing
many,
it.
how many years did you do it? I mean, it took me a long while to get comfortable doing it, and I can't say that I'm still.
But trouble is, we do that every couple of years, that means if somebody gets off the board, he never gets to be chairman. So that's why
True.
he should be rotating it every year.
But you know what? If someone
There
gets
are
off the
people
board,
that don't want to be chairman.
Then you shouldn't be sitting here if you don't want to
But
take
you know what, Douglas?
responsibilities.
You can, in a 3-year term, there could be possibility you wouldn't see chairman in 3 years.
I know, but,
So there's really no difference.
so I'll be here 6 years though, so I still won't.
I don't care. Makes no difference to me.
So it should be rotated.
We gotta vote on this motion anyways. Any more discussion? Unless, Chuck, you've been silent.
If you two are comfortable doing it, I think you should stay doing it.
I would like to mention that we'll have mics and cameras in the next year, so if that's a factor, who's the chairman?
We have Mike seeing it.
Yeah, mics and cameras are here.
We're talking about streaming live video.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? I abstain just because I'm in that motion. I probably shouldn't vote.
Well, if that's the case, I can't vote either.
Well, okay, then I'll say yes.
I think that's 4-1.
Any public comment? Now that the camera's on and it's rolling, we're gonna be losing Ryan to the vote. I forget the name of it.
It's the Charles W. Morgan. It's the last wooden whaling ship down in Mystic, Connecticut. And Charles W. Morgan, actually, the great-great-great-granddaughter is Sally Bullard, who lives in East Boothbay. And Nat Wilson was commissioned to do the sails. And so I saw this headline back in January saying, Mystic Seaport looking for a stowaway. And basically that duty is to document and convey the voyage to thousands of people as we sail up and down these historic ports in New England. And I thought it would be a nice breather from the paper and you guys. And
Had to throw that in.
I've enjoyed the town of Boothbay. I've loved covering you guys because a lot of stuff comes through here, and I've seen it when there's no one in here, and I've seen it when you guys are under the gun and people want answers. So before I came to the paper, I was one of the apathetic, cynical people that, what about town government? And then I realized that you guys are the most accountable people in this town, and through grassroots mobilization, I think it's more efficient than what's happened in the state or federal level. So I'd like to thank you because I've enjoyed covering you guys, and I'll be back in August, so I might be returning. So to be determined.
Brian, did I read somewhere this is the final voyage?
It's the final voyage. So throughout its 100-year tenure, its voyages, it's built in 1841. 37 voyages. The voyages last about 3 to 4 years. And Mystic Seaport acquired this old boat in 1941, and then finally got a bunch of grant money to do a $7.5 million restoration.
Wow.
And so they put all this money into it. They have all these voyagers coming aboard, and this will be the last voyage. They're going to sail it this one last time, and then it's going to be the central exhibit at the museum. It's never going to sail again. So I'm completely honored. I had to go through this big screening process and application process, and they narrowed it down to me, so.
Great, congratulations.
Thank
We will miss you.
And you can follow me. I'm going to shamelessly promote myself. You can follow me at Mystic Seaport at their website or Facebook. And like anything, it's going to be a new chapter. So.
And I will go on record as saying the Register would be absolutely foolish if they don't hire him back when he comes back.
Thank you.
But you have a new...
We have Casey, right? And he's where are you from?
West Virginia.
West Virginia, and he moved here 3 weeks ago, and he's going to be taking my spot doing selectmen meetings and local news. So I'm showing him the ropes. And
It might get a little colder here than in West Virginia. Just so you know, just saying. Well, welcome. No more public comment? Motion to sign the warrants upon review?
So moved.
Seconded.
And all those in favor? Now I entertain a motion to go into executive session 1 MRSA 4056A for the town manager performance evaluation.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Not to return to regular session?